when you're on Facebook, because it becomes more challenging, we can hear you, but when they record it later on, it's hard for people to hear.
Okay.
Good.
So anyways, thank you for having me today. My name is Lacy Hahn. I am owner and operator of Hahn Properties Management. I know these gals right here from the Mishawaka Business Association. I have been a member of the Mishawaka Business Association probably 3 or 4 years now. So they've created this 1 million cups, or got it started here in Mishawaka, and I've been wanting to come and speak and meet everybody, and so today's that opportunity for me to do so. So thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. So Hahn Properties Management. I am primarily a commercial cleaning company. So what that means is we are a cleaning company. We come in and we clean properties that are used for business. So for example, the library, or your doctor's office, or the daycare where you take your kids or grandkids. So basically we clean business properties. We don't do any residential. And that means if someone is living in a home, we will not do it. But if you are getting your house ready to put up for sale, or you're moving into a home, or you have an Airbnb, or you have a rental, we will clean those as long as there's no one occupying the home. So basically cleaning. So just a little bit about me before I get into the business. I did graduate from USB with a bachelor's degree in mass communication about 1 million years ago. So I always say that I've made a living by talking and schmoozing and socializing, because that's really the only thing I think I'm good at. Out of college, I went right into radio sales and marketing, which was really fun. I was at the Bear, and if anybody remembers WAOR, it was a classic rock station. I was there for a while, learned a lot of stuff about promotion, events, sales, marketing, all that stuff. Took some time off when I had my beautiful little babies. So anybody who is a young mom or wants to be a young mom, I did take time off of my career and went back to work. So that's something a lot of, I think, women are scared of. So I always like to say I did it, and it worked out well for me. I had to have that time home with the kids. But when I went back to work after having my second son, I was in sales. So it's hard to find a part-time job in sales unless you want to be a retail person or something like that. But I came across a cleaning company who was looking to expand from Fort Wayne to South Bend, and he wanted to grow his business in South Bend. So he wanted to have a sales marketing person, but he couldn't afford a full-time person. He wanted to just kind of dip his toe in the water, and I kind of wanted to dip my toe in the water of going back to work. So that was in 2014. So once I got into that role and I learned about the janitorial, which is not something most people think about. If it's not part of your job, or you're not a facilities manager, you really don't think about who comes in at night and changes your trash, or who mops the floors. You just go to work and you go home. But getting into that role and learning about all the opportunity and all the business that was there for something that's kind of no one really thinks about. So started doing sales, started networking. That was my background. So I met a lot of people and actually really enjoyed the business, because the funny thing is while you're cold calling all these people, you learn about all these businesses that are kind of already functioning in your own backyard. Especially us, we have Elkhart. So there are people who make screen doors that go on almost every RV, in the world. And there's a candy company in South Bend that produces those little root beer barrels that you see at all the. And you're like, these things are happening. So I always kind of thought that was fun to learn about what goes on in your own backyard. So one of the big problems that we had with my former company was we had a lot of turnover. And you got to think, these are people that are in your space. And if you're a medical facility or you're a daycare, you care about who's in your property, especially after hours. They have access to some things that are, HIPAA, which is your medical files, or your kids' information is there. So it's important to know, who's in your building. And with the company I was with prior, we were having a new cleaner at a new property every week. And that was a really big problem for a lot of people. And so I had, as a PR background, I thought I created this whole business plan, and I created all these things. I did a lot of research, and I presented it to the owner of the company, who was based out of Fort Wayne. And I said, we have all these problems that I've identified. I really like it here. We're growing. I'm making money. We're doing such good business, but we have a really big problem here, which is turnover. Employee turnover, yes. So I was there 7-8 years, and we had an office gal who was there a long time too, but it was the everyday cleaners, your minimum wage, people that are coming in, and we had a real problem with that. So I identified some of the things that I thought were the problems, and a lot of that was accountability. So in this line of work, you go into a building, there's nobody there. You don't have a manager looking over your shoulder. You don't have, which is good for the introverts, right? You go to your building, you go in, you clean, you leave. You don't see anybody. You barely know who writes your check. So there was a low level of accountability. You're there to a paycheck, but you don't have any allegiance to, oh, I want to do a good job for Lacy because she's my manager, she's really counting on me, or I want to do a good job for Susie, this is her building and she really needs it to be. There was a real lack of accountability. Obviously there was some pay structure issues I had. We were bringing people in at 10 minutes, or I'm sorry, $10 an hour. So I identified some things, and I think like a lot of entrepreneurs in my position, I thought, you know what, I could do this a lot better. So I went out on my own, and a lot of that business that I created was relationships I had built from the years I was with the previous company, and I had kind of went to some of those clients and said, I know you're unhappy with XYZ, I think I can do better. So the problem I identified was just employee turnover, there was a lack of communication, and it was really providing excellent customer service. So you can call Hahn Properties and you will always get a human. And so, 10 years from now, maybe I'll be bigger, maybe that won't be the case, but I hope it always is. I really pride myself on having that relationship with my clients, but also I feel like I treat my employees like clients. They are important to me. If they need something, they get it. If they need a day off, if they need a certain tool they feel like is gonna help them do their job better, I just really put a high priority on my employees, and that has made all the difference in the world. I have very, very little turnover. And like I said, it's hard because I don't see my employees every day. We don't work in an office together. So I really make an effort we have usually a Christmas party, a summer party. We're trying to, have some team building stuff so you have some accountability. I have a few managers who oversee my staff. I really harp on my managers about building the relationships with their cleaners. Let your cleaner know they can call you if they need something. And it sounds silly, but in my line of work, it's important. If they need a different type of vacuum cleaner, if they like Fabuloso and they don't like Pine Sol, get it for them. And it sounds silly, but to a person who's working and they're kind of on that island at night, to know, oh, you know what, Anna's here, and if I need her, I can call her. And it made all the difference in the world of just building a relationship and kind of a pseudo family unit. And it really, really has came to fruition, and it's working well. So some of my goals for next year, if anybody knows me, I did buy a commercial building in Mishawaka, and I'm working on converting that into some affordable housing / office space for myself.
Oh, great.
So goals for next year is just to I need a home base. I've been working out of my garage since 2019, which I know a lot of people who start their own businesses do the same. So happy to have a home base. I think that will help a lot. One of the problems I've dealt with is I'm not a business person. I am a salesperson. So admin, payroll, watching those nickels and dimes is not anything I find fun. So I think having a business, and maybe next year having an actual business manager, and just keeping on that organization and keeping the theme and the flow and the feel of the business I started 5 years ago. If I continue to grow, I hope to kind of always keep that same thing. So since I didn't have a PowerPoint, I do have my cards up there. I'm also on Facebook, and that's about it.
That's great.
Any questions? I know, you didn't tell me I had 1 minute left, but I figured I was close.
Oh, no, that was the 5 minutes.
We'll make it close.
Wow, so that's great.
Yeah.
So what, is there a certain size company you like to clean for?
So,
How does that, like square feet or number of employees?
I have a set business model, which I veer off from time to time. Today you kind of thought about that too. So I like to have a business that's 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, evening clean. And the reason why is because a lot of my employees, they work for me as a part-time job. So they have a full-time day job, and then they will come in and they'll work in the evening. So if you're gonna work Monday through Friday, and on Tuesday and Thursday you go clean an office building, yeah, you're gonna make, $50-$60. But if every night you go to work and then after work you go clean a building for 2 hours, I find that fits into a lot of people's lifestyle, and it makes that 2 hours, if you're doing it 5 days a week, that little extra paycheck at the end of the week really helps. So I like a 5-day account. I only operate in St. Joe County. Obviously there's a lot of business to be had in Elkhart, but I've been really mindful of expansion. You get some people that say, oh, you can come clean my building, I need it cleaned twice a month. And while I appreciate someone giving me the building, it almost becomes harder to fill that position than it is to actually, it's not worth the money that
I
you
clean
make.
every day.
So I have a business model, and I try to stick to it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, so like if you're a doctor's office, you go over there, someone goes over there every day and cleans after the office is closed,
Yep.
like that.
I will take a 3-day a week, but we try to stay with 5. And then of course, you have some friends here or there that say, can you clean every Saturday? And I will, but I really thought of a business model, and I really try to stay with that because that's the most profitable, and like I said, it's the easiest to find employees to fill.
That sounds great.
Well, it's easier cleaning, right, like usually?
Almost easier cleaning too, because you're there every day, you know, so you're not going into 5 or 6 days of no one's done anything, and then you go in there. And also depends on the traffic of a building, you know, some people, small business owners like ourselves, there's 2 people in your office, so you're not really, but you want someone to come and clean every once in a while, so I will take those here and there, but.
What about those buildings that, like, they're office buildings, and there's a lot of different customers, and how do you handle that?
In St. Joe County, you'll have like property management companies that are really big. So you think like a Cressy or Holiday, Bradley Company. They own a lot of those. Like you'll see like on Day at Edison, where there's like 10, 20 tenants in a building, and they will have like janitorial services that are for those buildings. But not everybody does. I mean, I work a lot with Beacon Memorial. They're one of my major clients, and you'd assume that they would have an internal janitorial custodial staff. They don't.
No.
For a client and a client-based, you know, mindset, we save them money, you know, because we're not, you know, they don't have to pay benefits, insurance, time off, they don't have to deal with HR. If there are complaints with a cleaning service, they're not in your office, you know, you're calling me. I'm managing that staff. And so sometimes if you're thinking of a facilities manager who's managing 100,000 square foot admin office with 70, 80 employees, sometimes it's easier to say, oh, if you have a problem, you call Hahn, you know, not myself, or they pass that message along to me.
Lacey, how many accounts do you have?
I fluctuate anywhere between 15 and 20. I don't get a lot of turnover in the client division. The thing I get the most is people will say, and I just sit back and watch, because I've been doing this about 15 years now. Well, we're gonna do it internally, because we're gonna save some money. And I say, okay, and they do it internally, and then in about 18 months, they call me back and they say, yeah, come back. And I say, okay. So we fluctuate between 15 and 20. Same thing with employees. Usually it's 1 employee per building. Some of my employees will incorporate 2 or 3 if it's a large building. So usually the same amount of accounts and the same amount of employees. And then I do have 2 managers underneath me. One person who's an operations manager, she's working during the day, she's out in the field, she's checking inventory, she's liaising with clients. I've kind of taken myself a little bit out of that role. And then I have a night manager who oversees the staff. So they know if they're cleaning and their toilet gets plugged, or they can't get in somewhere, their key doesn't fit, they can call, his name's Michael, and he'll come, you know, to the rescue, which has been an extra layer of service for my clients. It costed me some money because he doesn't bring in any money. I pay him to be on call, but it's helped a lot with just providing better service in the end. So
What was the solution to that employee turnover?
So what I did is my employees start now at $20 an hour. They start immediately with 5 days paid off. And I don't have a system, I don't have HR, that's just me giving that to them. And then the third key was that accountability relationship factor with their manager, with me, and just knowing that there's somebody there having their back, which, I mean, it's different in an office setting, but in this line of work, you really miss that. So I have people that have cleaned, I have employees that have cleaned for 10 cleaning companies, they've worked at St. Joe Hospital, so this is their profession, they are professional cleaners. So when they come to Hahn and they see how we operate, it's a whole new ballgame, and they really like it. And I have ladies that have been with me since 2019 who don't go anywhere and just do great service. So,
Well, when people work for you, know that you care about them, then they care about
cliche,
you.
you know, but it really,
No,
it's really important.
You gotta care about people
Really
for them to care with you
important,
back.
you know? And I felt like it's made a difference. I've had one employee leave me, and that's because she was moving out of state, and that's it.
Too big of a commute.
Yeah.
So, is there anything you need? Oh, sorry. Is there anything you need to grow your company? Like, do you need a new website? Do you need help with social media?
I have a website, I have social media, I do all that stuff myself. I enjoy doing that. Like I said, next year, the goal is to hire a business manager. To watch my pennies and my nickels, because I don't want to get too big, you know, I want to grow a little, of course, but I enjoy being in sales. I don't enjoy stocking cupboards and doing payroll and those, so I would like to have someone next year who's more of an admin role, so I kind of get back to doing the stuff I like to do, which is entrepreneurial groups, networking, sales, the stuff I consider the fun stuff. So next year I'll be looking for a business manager.
Do you have a bookkeeper?
I do not have a bookkeeper. I have my operations gal who works during the day, she does the payroll, and then I still do my invoicing. And then every year, at the end of the year, my accountant wants to kill me because everything's a big mess.
So if you hired, let's say, a bookkeeper that could probably handle the payroll, well, mine does, and handle payroll and
Invoicing?
Yeah, and the invoicing.
That's the goal.
And that's just one, and that would be really probably to get that maybe, you know, for better than a manager.
I'm about this close to having everything streamlined, so.
Alright.
Yeah.
Do you have any other benefits for the cleaners, or is it just?
We do not, because it's all, you know, and I have people say, well, do you have an attendance program? Do you have this and this? And I say, well, sadly, I'm not like Walmart yet. I'm kind of by the seat of my pants, so a business manager. And then I've also looked into incorporating some sort of software program. So there are software programs that exist, and I've kind of started looking into for custodial and janitorial programs to keep track of that thing, maybe to add some benefits, insurance. I mean, I think I'm a little small for that still. I don't know if I'll ever get that big. But like I said, this job for a lot of my employees is their second job. Surprisingly, sometimes their third job. I mean, there are people in this world you wouldn't believe that are still love to go to work and make all that money. I love those people. But so most people aren't relying on me as their main source of income. But maybe one day I'll be able to provide insurance and all that.
So they
stuff.
typically work like 2 to 3 hours in the evening. That's pretty
Correct.
much it.
Correct. I think my biggest account is probably 6 hours. And then if an account goes over 6 hours, I'll put 2 people on there because then it gets to be a little heavy.
So are you hiring?
Now, right now, I'm
Okay.
trying to focus on getting organized these last 2-3 months of the year. I'm gonna hopefully be in my office next month. So once I get in there, the goal is to really, really, really be organized and really watch my P's and Q's so I can kind of hit the ground running in January, and then I'll be hiring.
That sounds wonderful.
It's been fun.
Yeah,
It's been a
sounds
fun
good.
experience.
So I have a question about your office building. Are you also going to, you said affordable housing, are you going
Yes.
to do some apartments there?
Yes, so there is one apartment there now that could really use some TLC. I do have tenants in there, and they're a little older couple, so they're happy. So once they decide what they're doing, I'll probably remodel that, and there's some space in the back that I will be turning into either 1 or 2 more apartments. So three
Oh, that's a
spaces,
great
which isn't a
idea.
ton. But, you know, I live on the west end of Mishawaka, if anybody's familiar with that. It's right by Rose Park. And if you could find affordable housing in this beautiful little neighborhood, and I want to be sure I'm renting responsibly. I want to make sure I'm doing the proper things to ensure my tenants have a safe, clean place to live, but also being a responsible property owner, making sure we're following code, the police aren't being called on tenants. I'm background checking, property checking, credit checking, but that's some things I would like to do with that affordable housing, and if that works out, that may be my next business
That's
endeavor.
fantastic.
We shall see.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for letting me here. Sorry